the human rights concerns during his talks in Beijing today. To discuss the trial of Hong Kong pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai, as well as China's broader human rights record. He said the conversation with China's leadership was respectful and frank, stressing that stronger ties must allow room for disagreement. Starmer added that engaging China creates opportunities for cooperation while also making space for open dialogue on sensitive issues. His comments come as London seeks a more stable and constructive relationship with Beijing. Joining me now in this discussion is Collins.
He raised those issues as you would expect. Part of the rationale for engagement is to make sure that we can both seize the opportunities that are available, which is what we've done, but also have a mature discussion about issues that we disagree on.
All right, viewers, before we are joined in by our guests, let's give you more details on this meet between Starmer and Xi Jinping. Of course, the issue of visa-free travel has seen some progress in this visit. Whiskey tariffs were also discussed. Those are some of course, the key pointers. But the meeting between the two leaders, of course, is a rather crucial one. A lot of updates, in fact, coming in. The relationship is in good and strong place, is what Starmer said after productive talks with Xi. And the Prime Minister, of course, said that progress has been made on whiskey tariffs and visa-free travel to China, and also raised the jailing of Jimmy Lai with Xi Jinping. The PM also said that the countries will maintain frank and open dialogue on areas of disagreements. Xi, meanwhile, said that there have been twists and turns in China-UK ties, but went on to say that engagement is unavoidable. Let's in fact now welcome Collins Chong-Yu-Ki, to the Foreign Affairs, Security and Strategy Analyst, and joins us from Kuala Lumpur. Collins, thanks very much for joining us. Firstly, what do you think are some of the biggest takeaways from the meeting between the two leaders, and how are they going to tread on this newly strengthened bilateral relationship?
Well, both sides will tread this carefully. We have seen how, both have been careful not to also sideline traditional partners, especially with the case of UK. UK is trying to de-risk without fully decoupling, and of course also China will want to see what are the red lines being set by the UK in terms of these discussions. And of course also we've seen how Beijing is also trying to gauge the positions of Starmer, and we have seen also the need for UK to consolidate further economic integration, especially now the economic conditions of the UK has not been promising. And also, the issues being raised here in terms of Jimmy Lai, in terms of, in Xinjiang and the Uyghurs. This is also part of a strategic move, by Starmer to ensure that, to also appease domestic audience and, domestic needs. He wants to show that, these relations can be maintained. On talking terms, but without also compromising on the stance on human rights, also on these difficult issues. And of course, this will need to be raised. But as I've stated, I don't see this as a stumbling block to both sides. And of course, this is part of the needed, as part of the continuation of the needed issues that will need to be raised by the UK without being seen as selling out the traditional stance of the UK in terms of these issues. But the main prominent points will be on resetting talks on a new way forward in terms of economic partnership, in terms of critical sectors, but on sensitive sectors, including on tech restrictions on semiconductor and chips. These are also being, they have to tread carefully on this, especially with the new pressure by Washington. And of course also Beijing is trying to capitalize on this to send a very promising message to the global south, to its current and allies, that it still has this friend in the UK, despite the moves by the Trump administration to to enforce greater pressure on Beijing.
Yeah. And how do you think really the US will be watching this meeting going ahead and the relationship between China and the UK?
Well, as I've stated, this is expected, and I don't see this as to raise an alarming, kind of, sign to the Trump administration. Then we have seen how this is not, only being confined to the case of the UK. We have seen this has happened before in the case of France, in the case of Canada, and of course, all nations will want also to seek greater fallback options, and of course also for friend-sharing efforts. To safeguard their own economic interests in amidst these new uncertainties and also potential strains in the ties with the US in terms of securing this promising economic future. But of course also these nations, especially the UK and Canada and other European nations, will need also to tread this carefully in terms of also not to be seen as selling out the need to have this kind of the importance of the security ties with the US. So they have been capitalizing on this strategic hedging with more careful manner now, and we have seen also how despite this overture to China in terms of resetting ties, this security umbrella, security partnership with the US still remains strong. Of course, London would still need to depend on the US in terms of having this security partnership, but on the economic partnership, you need to explore greater, in terms of platforms, in terms of confidence, in terms of trust, and in terms of also expanding the market access and other economic benefits that will be of great importance to the UK, especially in this timeline.
Sure. Collins, one final question so long as we are on this discussion. How do you see UK's economy gaining really if trade boosts with China? Of course, the country is seeing its economy in doldrums right now. How much can it gain from these strengthened ties?
Well, I don't see any kind of promising real-time gains in especially during the initial timeline. This is just a very preliminary stage. To of course to have this kind of mutual agreements on what will be the key areas that we need to have further improvements without infringing on the sensitive areas that will be of great importance to both sides. And of course, China is still probing what are the red lines being set by Britain, and of course we have seen how also sensitive sectors will need to be protected, and the need also to be seen to be aligned with the greater support or efforts by Washington in terms of restricting Chinese access to these technologies. Of course, also with regards to the sanctions in place on energy, and how this will also will be important for the UK not to be seen as alluding or to be agreeable to these efforts or any actions taken by China that will be of great risk or harm to the Western Hemisphere as a whole. So there are a lot of this pressure in place. There's a lot of restrictions, a lot of uncertainties, and for both to navigate further. But this is the first step being taken after years of these relations being the doldrum, and of course both will want to seek greater confidence in moving forward and to have these mutual benefits. But I don't see this to be beyond the optics that we have seen. To have any tangible benefits, especially to Britain, it will still need to rely very much on the conventional methods for now, and to reassure allies in Europe, and of course to reassure the Trump administration that this is not something that is, at the expense of the other.
Right. All right, Collins, thanks for your comments. They are requested to stay on. Moving ahead now, viewers, Vietnam and the European Union have pledged to deepen economic and security cooperation.